You're watching the ZNS Network, the People's Station.
Now in HD. ZNS Network presents The Bahamas Tonight. And now, first at 6. This portion of the news brought to you by BTC Every Day.
With relief efforts focused on galvanizing a national relief chain, Bahamians are being urged to monitor another system headed to the west. Good evening, everyone. I'm Keishla Adderley, and welcome to this special edition of the Bahamas Tonight, first at 6, The Recovery. Well, it doesn't have a name yet, and its chances of development are slim, but forecasters are watching it nonetheless. We take it over to Chief Meteorologist Basil Dean for the latest on a tropical wave that's developed. Good evening to you, Basil. What's the latest on that?
Well, thank you, Keisha. We, as usual, monitoring the tropics, and we have a tropical wave about 1,000 miles to the east of the Lesser Antilles. It is moving toward the west at about 10 to 15 miles per hour. Has about a 20% chance of development over the next 5 days. So it's much too far out to be of any concern to us, but we'll continue to monitor it over the next several days and keep you posted of its progress. And then we are still looking at Hurricane Joaquin, which is just over 100 miles to the north of Bermuda. It is now racing towards the northeast, and it is expected to move over some cooler waters and weaken to a tropical low, and later on losing some of that tropical characteristic, becoming a cold low, and we expect it to even reach the coast of Europe by the weekend, and this can add some additional moisture to the European forecast area. And closer to home, have a frontal boundary that is pushing over the extreme northwest Bahamas. That too is bringing some cloudiness to the area, and some showers are very possible over the northwestern islands. Keisha?
Thanks for that update, Basil. Well, meantime, Prime Minister Perry Christie was back in hard-hit Long Island yesterday to survey damage there and assess the needs of residents as the island is left flooded by Hurricane Joaquin. He told our Clint Watson there's a long road ahead and the government won't be able to meet the needs alone.
There has been massive devastation by the impact of the hurricane, and that one finds it difficult now to quantify it, but it's going to be a very, very heavy burden for the country.
Prime Minister the Right Honorable Perry Christie recognizes that there's a long road ahead as the country pushes to recover from the massive Category 4 Hurricane Joaquin that left indescribable destruction in some areas. Mr. Christie says one thing's clear: the government won't be able to meet these needs on its own.
We're going to have to make an appeal and continue to make appeals for assistance, one in restoring, and we're magnificent at being able to restore quickly, BEC, but we're going to need help, and we're going to need to have poles replaced to get the provision of electricity back in order. And so, again, we've made a commitment to go all out, to bring relief in the shortest possible time, to bring restoration in the shortest possible time. We have now spread our teams around the affected areas. We have technical people making assessments. Those assessments will be fed into NEMA, and then we will be able to arm ourselves with how we can go about approaching and advising the Bahamian public and the international public as to what we are facing.
Regular access to South Long Island, believed to be one of the most hard-hit areas, has been cut off due to flooding. There's a similar situation in Acklands and Crooked Island. Prime Minister Christie traveled to Barry's South Long Island on Op-Bat helicopter carrying supplies. He was overwhelmed by what he saw, as residents waiting on supplies were shocked to see him emerge from the helicopter.
They pointed out houses to me, the yard or where we landed. The house was destroyed. Other houses in the immediate vicinity were destroyed, demolished, or terribly broken up. and people lost all of their belongings. And so clearly there is evidence of great devastation, or I call utter devastation.
Prime Minister Christie says he is encouraged by the non-stop flow of supplies going to the hot-hit areas. He says they are constantly receiving reports from around the world from organizations wishing to donate supplies. But more importantly, what really impressed him,
this indomitable spirit, right, that I've been knocked down, I've been wrecked, but I'm going to get back up. And they just wanted the promise that we were coming back, and this promise that we're not just going to leave them there.
Clint Watson, ZNS Network News.
After enduring the storm on Ragged Island over the past few days, our Vaughn Albury and cameraman Karen Miller are in Exuma tonight. Vaughn Albury filed this report about utility restoration on some of the affected islands.
In Staniel Key, Barataria and Black Point Exuma, the focus appears to be getting supplies to the residents of Long Island and other islands in the central and southeast Bahamas devastated by Hurricane Joaquin. I spoke with Bob Smith of Coastline Adventures, who took two groups of persons from Georgetown to Salt Pond, Long Island on Sunday. The Stuart Manor resident says what he saw was utter destruction in South Long Island, including clothes, furniture, and other household goods in waterlogged roads and even in trees. South Long Island roads, he says, are still impassable. Smith was busy ferrying other groups again on Monday. Baratari resident Mrs. McKinsey was gathering food supplies and other necessities for her daughter, son-in-law, and grandchild who live in Long Island. She says they are alive and coping, but their home took a battering. Georgetown was reportedly a beehive of activity as boats and planes were chartered to Long Island, San Salvador, Crooked Island, Rum Key, and other islands severely impacted by the Category 4 hurricane that hovered over the central Bahamas for more than 2 days. In Black Point, a 6-member Defense Force team went on patrol throughout the Exuma Keys. It is reported that illegal immigrants and drug and people smuggling operations take advantage during times of national disasters when the attention is on cleanup and recovery. A Bahamas Electricity Corporation team from Exuma reported that Crooked Island is still without power, its roads impassable, with water, light poles, and lines down. Mayaguana still has lots of water, but the power grid appears to be fine. That's according to BC's Carlton Taylor. Otherwise, power is back on in Inagua and Ragged Island, while telephone and internet services remain off. In the Exuma Keys, I'm Vaughn Albury, ZNS Network News.
Duty called for Defense Force officers who were dispatched to hard-hit family islands on the weekend, like San Salvador, Acklins, and Crooked Island. A team of Marines was also dispatched to Stella Maris in Long Island. They'll be supported by the HMBS Druid Knowles and patrol craft P301, which is in Clarencetown, rather. The Defense Force Marines will conduct damage assessments and assist local community leaders and agencies with organizing and distributing food, water, clothing, and shelter for immediate relief for those in need. A Defense Force aircraft will also assist the Red Cross with the transport of emergency medical supplies. Acting Defense Force Commander Captain Tellis Bethel has also assigned Lieutenant Commander Michael Saunders to liaise with the Royal Fleet Auxiliary Vessel Lime Bay, which is a ship which specializes in providing disaster relief assistance. Landing fees are being waived to accommodate relief distribution to the family islands. The Minister of Transport and Aviation, the Honorable Glenys Hannah Martin, announced today that since Saturday, October 3rd, until further notice, landing fees at all government airports will not be payable by any aircraft involved in the transport of goods to Long Island, San Salvador, Rum Key, Acklins, Crooked Island, Inagua, Mayaguana, and Cat Island. United States Coast Guard authorities believe a cargo ship missing since Thursday with 33 crewmen aboard has been lost at sea. The Coast Guard held a press conference this morning, also reporting the discovery of human remains in a survival suit. The El Faro reportedly sent out a distress signal while in waters near Crooked Island in the height of Hurricane Joaquin. That was the last contact with the ship. Donations continue to pour in from around the world to help residents affected by Hurricane Joaquin. Many New Providence-based donation hubs have been receiving food and water and other goods. If you're interested in making a donation of canned goods, water, toiletries, or any other supplies for residents in Acklands in particular, you can take them to the Bahama Grill on West Bay Street or Bethel's Trucking on East Street South. Express It has also joined the hurricane relief effort. All persons from Florida who wish to make donations to the hurricane victims can do so through that courier service. Items being shipped should be marked in NEMA's name. The detailed list of items being shipped must be presented to the Express It office at 1020 Northwest 1st Court in Hallandale Beach, Florida. The zip code 33009. In other news tonight, voter registration was scheduled to begin across the country today. However, the process is taking a back seat to those southern Bahama Islands affected by Hurricane Joaquin. Parliamentary Commissioner Sherlyn Hall tells ZNS News that the registration drive remains in effect for the rest of the Bahamas as well as Bahamian embassies abroad.
With effect from today, the voter registration activities in the southern eastern Bahamas, all of those islands south of Eleuthera, will be postponed until the 26th of October 2015. And we hope that this would ease the pressure and the burden on the administrators and the people trying to recover from the ravages of Hurricane Joaquin. We will see later, when come the 26th, God willing, how things progress. Then we'll make further decisions thereafter.
Now, just as a reminder, persons going to register must present their Bahamian passport or birth certificate along with their mother's birth certificate and a photo identification. The centers open for registration include Flamingo Gardens Post Office, Elizabeth Estates, Carmichael Road, and the General Post Office on East Hill Street. Mr. Hall also disclosed the new voters' cards color, which will stay in effect for the next 5 years.
We will create a new register using voters card purple with this color. But this card will not be issued immediately to a voter. We will retain this card to come to my office, and this card will be kept under close security until the Boundary Commission meets, and we will decide whether there are changes to the boundaries. We retain this card in the event there are changes to the boundaries. So anyone who registers with this card will be given a receipt as their proof or evidence that they did register for 2017.
Well, talk about a thrill seeker during the adverse weather conditions brought on by Hurricane Joaquin. Here in New Providence on Thursday afternoon, our news team met a Cable Beach resident trying to go on a kite surf near the coastal bend on West Bay Street. David Lee told us that the rough seas and gusty winds, however, weren't enough for him to enjoy the afternoon the way he'd planned.
I would typically come out here in stronger winds than this. To be honest, I was hoping for a little bit more. I've tried out 2 sails. One was a 5-meter sail and the other one was a 6.2 meter sail, and I can't really get planing. So people in New Providence windsurf anymore, even though it's a really good place for it. A lot of people have now got into kiteboarding. That's a lot more popular.
And you usually select this part of the island?
Yeah, well, this is usually good because you often get strong easterlies, so you have a cross-shore breeze and you can go in and out, and you get waves breaking on the point here when it's really good. But today it's dead on shore, so you have to go across like this, and then when you get into the bay the wind dies off, so it's not ideal.
In other news tonight, a man is detained in hospital in serious condition, nursing gunshot wounds. Police say he was walking on Finlayson Street around 4 o'clock yesterday afternoon when a man armed with a handgun approached and shot him before fleeing on foot. Then shortly after 10 o'clock last night, a man was involved in an altercation with another man, which led to him being injured with a cutlass. That male victim is also detained in serious condition in hospital. Police are searching for the suspects in both incidents. The first Caribbean International Bank's Race for the Cure took place on Sunday morning. Our Julian Gibson tells us that hundreds turned out to join in the fight against cancer.
We salute those who have passed.
It's all about bringing an awareness to the fight against cancer, and judging from the turnout, the message continues to get out.
This year, we've had a significant amount of new corporate sponsors who've come on board, and so that has really helped to basically expand it. And so not only the corporate sponsors, but their employees and their families, in addition to CIBC First Caribbean employees and families, are here. So we couldn't ask for a more better event.
It was an awesome turnout here today. In my estimation, as the long and short walkers go, we had over 500 people represented here today.
I am very impressed with what I see here, and we want to commend First Caribbean Bank for the excellent work that they have done. And we're also excited to be a part of this. We're representing WEMCO. We have a grouping of staff at all levels out here, and this is something that we like to do, give back to the community.
Yeah, a good crowd came out today because a lot of persons have been affected by cancer in some way, either some family member who's close to them, either living or deceased.
As we're all aware, cancer affects all of us. There's really no person in the Bahamas today who can say that they have not been impacted by cancer in some way, shape or form, whether directly or indirectly. And so we are really banding together with persons across the region and our parent company in Canada to show solidarity in the fight and make sure that people understand that there is power in numbers, and we want everyone to get involved in helping to prevent cancer, but also to find a cure.
And for Natasha Braun, she has her own personal story why she's totally in the fight.
This is something very serious because I know for me, the first 4 years in my business, I lost 5 women to cancer in about 11 months. And I have had to change my message. I am now saying to women and men who are now being diagnosed that you cannot afford to not take care of you.
And not getting left out, this group of children have embarked on a mission.
I've been baking, and then I've come here to sell them, and I just, I've been making bracelets too, and I like doing it. It's just a fun cause. I'm trying to support this by helping my sister bake and make bracelets and sell things, and I'm really into this cause, and I hope many people survive from cancer.
Reporting for the ZNS News Network, I'm Julian Gibson.
This is ZNS Total Sports, brought to you by Fourth Terrace Diagnostic Center.
This is your first look at sports. I'm Jonathan Benson. The first round of the New Providence Softball Association playoffs underway. Julian Gibson has a look back from Saturday night.
You can tell softball fever is in the air. Fans in place, they watched the Bomber G operators lose game 1 to the Johnson Lady Truckers 10-7.
We did exceptionally well. I was not pressured because I know my team had my back and we played good team ball.
For the losing operators, they simply committed too many mistakes.
We have another couple of games with them. We can get them. If somebody win the first one, we can win the rest of them.
Now in the men's feature game, the pennant winners this year, the BTC Warriors, boy, they declare war on the chances Mighty Mitts, not giving them any chance, blanking them 12-0. Reporting for ZNS Total Sports, I am Julian Gibson.
Thanks a lot, Julian. Now the MPSA playoffs will continue tomorrow with the other 2 semifinal series. The Lady Singers, they lead the Sunshine Auto Wildcats 1-0, while the Commandos Security Truckers, they're up 1-0 on the Iredales Hitmen. From there, playoff action will resume again on Wednesday, Thursday, and Saturday, and all fans and players are being asked to bring hurricane relief supplies out to help those affected by Joaquin. The 2015 sloop sailing season will close out over the Discovery Day holiday weekend with the staging of the North Eleuthera Regatta. The first race is set for Saturday in waters off Harbour Island.
Some of the boats are the Udiva, Passion,
the Whiplash, Ants Nest, Cobra in the B class. And in the C class, we have boats like Sweet Island Gal, Dream Girl, San Sally, King of Nights, Thunderbird.
Mario's Bowling and Entertainment Palace putting on its annual Paint the Lanes Pink event over the weekend in aid of Breast Cancer Awareness Month, and once again it was dubbed a smashing success.
It really and truly looks good. We were quite pleased and impressed when we walked in the doors to see what this actual bowling alley looks like today. And it says a lot that the community is coming together and actually giving us on a day to say that, hey, we can celebrate. And that's what it's all about. It's a celebration of life where persons can come together and say, we all in this together. Regardless of who we are, where we are together.
The Popeyes Bahamas Bowl will be back at the Thomas A. Robinson National Stadium on Christmas Eve, and this is just one of many sports tourism events on the horizon for the 242.
We got our brand Sports in Paradise. We're going to book some more things. We got the World Cup of Beach Soccer coming. We got the PGA coming. We got Tiger Woods coming in 2 months. LPGA, beach volleyball. We just got everything going on in the Bahamas.
And that is your first look at sports. Don't go anywhere. First at 6 is back after the break.
This is ZNS Total Sports, brought to you by Fourth Terrace Diagnostic Center.
In our first look at weather, we'll get you started in the tropics, and we have this tropical wave in the far eastern Atlantic about 1,000 miles to the east of the Los Angeles. It is moving toward the west at about 15 miles per hour, has a very low chance of developing, about 20% over the next 5 days. And whether it makes the trek across the Atlantic, we're not quite sure. It's much too early to tell, but we will continue to monitor that wave and other tropical systems over the next several days and keep you posted. Hurricane Joaquin still out there, 245 miles to the north of Bermuda. It is now moving very quickly towards the north-northeast at about 12 miles per hour as a Category 1. We expect it to weaken by Wednesday to a cold core low over the cold waters of the Atlantic, and it's expected to also reach the coast of Europe by the weekend, so it seems as though they'll be getting some tropical moisture as well. Closer to home, we have the leading edge of a frontal system across the northwest Bahamas, providing some cloudiness, pockets of showers as well. Elsewhere, near clear skies over the central parts of the country. But outside of our studios, we have mostly cloudy skies, temperature 86 degrees, relative humidity 59%. Winds are out of the west at 10 knots, barometric pressure 1,009.9 millibars. That is 29.82 inches, and it is steady. Your First at 6 weather was brought to you by Duracell. But stay tuned, more weather is still to come.
Thanks a lot, Basil. Well, that does it for First at 6. Stay tuned, though. The Bahamas tonight. The Northern Edition is straight ahead.